Window or window or entire screen? Window. Is the screen visible? Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we'll start. Sorry for the delay. Fine. It's fine. Okay. So in the last class, we had completed reading 90, which had, which involved the basic introduction to ethics as a whole. And we had completed standard 1 and standard 2. So before we start, I want to ask, like, where are you guys? Like, what's the status at present? Mehak and Cynthia, regarding your preparations. Cynthia, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm just like going over all the content I've learned, like starting with cons and stuff, and then going on to econ and then
Okay.
doing those multiple choice questions on the website.
Okay.
I include the chapters.
Okay. Which topics have you completed? Like cons, ethics, portfolio management, derivatives.
Like revising or which ones?
Like
Like
just done with the content for one time.
oh, okay,
Like gone through everything
we
for
did
one time.
we did quants, econ, corporate
Okay.
issuers, derivatives, and equity. So 5 of them.
Okay. And your like when's your attempt due?
November.
Okay, so anytime you are confused about what I'm saying or you have any doubt, you can just speak up and have a talk with me. Mehak, what's your status? And Cynthia, last class we did reading 90, and in reading 91 we completed standard 1 and standard 2. Have you gone through the video?
No, not yet. I'll do it today.
Okay. Okay, I'll give a basic introduction regarding ethics. Then we'll go on to reading, standard 3, so that you can understand better. Mehak, uh, did you go through the questions?
Yeah, few of them. I didn't understand some of them. Uh,
Okay. Can you send me the screenshot over,
I will.
over my WhatsApp? Okay.
Okay.
So before I start, see, like Cynthia, just to give you a background about what ethics is, ethics comprises of some standards which, as a CFA charter holder or as someone who is giving CFA exam, a student, a student is expected to follow. Okay, so in reading 90, we had discussed code of ethics and standards of professional conduct. Now, this is one point where the confusion arises as to what is code of ethics and what is standards of professional conduct. Under the curriculum, we have 6 code of ethics, okay, which are these these are the 6 codes of ethics. That is, you have to act with integrity, you have to be truthful. When as a CFA professional, you are responsible for managing people's wealth, so you have to be truthful, you have to be respectful, you should be very ethical. The second is, you should place the integrity of the investment profession above your own personal interest. Now, what do I mean by this? It doesn't mean that you can't have your own personal life. It means that, suppose there's an IPO, there's an IPO, and before allocating shares of that IPO to your portfolio, you should first allocate the shares of the IPO to your client's portfolio. This is what is meant by that. You should place the interest of the clients above your own personal interest. The third point talks about that you should be very careful, and you should be very, you have to be you have to act very responsible when you give any suggestions or you make any recommendations, because your suggestions, your recommendations have monetary impact on people. It can impact people in a monetary way. Their wealth can get affected. If your recommendation is wrong, they can maybe lose their wealth. The fourth point is, you should practice, you should be ethical in your profession, and you should also encourage others to be very professional and ethical and follow all the rules and the regulations of the curriculum. Then you should be, you should promote the viability, the integrity of the capital markets for the ultimate benefit of the society. Now, this phrase is very important, for the ultimate benefit of the society. uh, yeah, a question can be asked here that, for whom should the integrity and viability of the global capital markets should be promoted? It is for the ultimate benefit of the society, and not only for the charter holders, or not only for your clients, or not only for your investors, or not only for your company. It is for the whole society. Maintain and improve, whenever you are assigned a task. Suppose you have expertise in mutual funds and not hedge funds. So if you come across an investor who wants to invest in a hedge fund, first you should develop that skills ability, and you should understand hedge fund clearly before taking up that task. So these are the six code of ethics. I've just given you an overview. We had discussed them in detail in the last class. After this, you have standards of professional conduct. Under standards of professional conduct, we have seven standards, and these seven standards have many substandards as well. So, see, mostly questions will be based on the standards of professional conduct. Some questions may come from code of ethics, and it gets really confusing if you don't know that you have two topics under this whole curriculum. Whenever someone tells ethics, the one thing which will pop up in everyone's mind is that we have seven codes and we have to mug up those seven codes of conduct, and you have to mug up these. People forget about the code of ethics, that you have six code of ethics also. So when the question states that answer this question on the basis of the code of ethics, don't get confused with the standard of professional conduct. Is it clear till now? I've just given an overview. Oh yes, no.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. After under standards of professional conduct, we had gone through professionalism and integrity of capital markets. Okay. Under professionalism, you have five substandards. Okay, professionalism, this first standards talks about how you should act, as a professional, as a charter holder, as someone working in a company, how you should act. So first thing should be, you should be knowledgeable of the law. You should know what are the laws, regulations in your country. And see, one point which is very important over here is, you may be working in a country and your client, maybe from another country. So suppose I'm from country A, my client is from country B, and along with this, I am a CFA charter holder. So I'm also, I have to also oblige, to the codes of the CFA curriculum. These standards of professional conduct along with the code of ethics. So there are three things which I should follow. Now, according to the rules and regulations of country A, my country, I am allowed to do a certain thing. Okay. And but according to the rules of country B, I am not allowed to do that certain thing. Country B has banned me from doing that certain thing. So the standards basically means that you should follow what is the strictest law, rules, or regulations. So if country A allows me to do a certain thing, but country B, my client's country isn't allowing me to do that thing, so I cannot do that thing. I cannot, pursue that activity, because my client's country has prohibited me from pursuing that activity. Okay, is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So second substandard is independence and objectivity. This means that you should be independent when you make your decisions. Okay, uh, and you, as a CFA charter holder, as someone working in the in a company, or as a member and the candidate, see, you will notice that every standard starts with the words members and candidates. This means that, the standards are applicable on the members, who are the CFA charter holders, and the candidates, which means like you guys who are giving the exams, the students. To the members and the candidates, they should use their judgment to achieve and maintain independence and objectivity in their professional activities. Suppose you overheard your colleague saying that, I believe that this stock is going to perform really well in the coming 1 month or 2 month, so I'm going to invest in it. But you just overheard his or her comment about the stock, and you went and through your client's portfolio you invested, let's say 20% of the portfolio amount to that stock, into that stock, without any personal analysis of your own. So you are not independent while you are making that decision. You just overheard a conversation and you invested that amount into the stock. So you weren't independent, and because of this, maybe the stock didn't perform well. And since you didn't you didn't make any analysis of your own, so there can be a case that, this statement doesn't mean that you can't invest in stocks which would generate negative returns. Uh, if you had invested in a stock, did all the analysis, and then that stock generated negative returns, that is fine. In that case, you won't be penalized, because you have done all the research. Market is very fluctuating. Sometimes you get positive returns, sometimes you get negative returns, but you have to be very independent. You have to do your own analysis and not just get influenced by others. The second point under the standard is, you cannot accept gift, benefit, compensation from anyone which could comprise your independency. Like, suppose a company has asked you, you are an analyst and you write reports regarding the company's future prospects and everything. What is their PNL balance, what is their PNL position, their balance sheet, what are the level of debts they are taking, and whether this, and then you form a conclusion that whether this company will grow in the future. If it will grow, what is the amount of return you think would generate. So that type of report you make. Now, if a company pays you for that report, you can't accept a you know a you can't accept a rate which is tied to what the conclusion of that report would be. Suppose a company has asked you to write a report for that company. Okay, the first thing which you should mention in the report is that this report is issuer paid. This report is paid by this company. The company has paid me to write this report. Then you can start your analysis. In this way, someone who is going through a report would have a knowledge that you were paid for this report. Now the second thing is, you can only accept flat rates for your reports. Suppose the company has asked you to write the report, you can only say, okay, I'll take an amount of, let's say, 1 lakh for writing this report for you. Okay, you have to decide a fixed amount. You can't say that if I write a good report for you, if the conclusion is good, if I prove that your company is worth investing, your stocks are worth investing, then I get paid 2 lakh. And if there are negative opinion, if I write a negative opinion about you, then I get paid 50,000. This type of compensation arrangement isn't allowed. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay. After this, we have a misrepresentation. You cannot misrepresent anything in your analysis, recommendation, actions, or other professional activities. This means that first is, you cannot misrepresent your performances. Suppose you generate returns. for you have been in the industry for the past 10 years as a manager, portfolio manager, but only recently you started investing in, you developed the expertise to invest in alternative investments. But now you have made a marketing materials saying that you have been in the industry since 10 years, you have been doing traditional investing along with alternative investing, which is wrong, because alternative investing is something which you had started very recently. Like, you don't have that much expertise in alternative investing. It has only been 3 years since you have started alternative investing. So you can't, make false representations about yourself, your analysis, your recommendations, your actions. You have to be very true. And there's also a point regarding plagiarism here, that if you are taking someone else's report, the conclusion of someone else's report in your report, you have to mention that you have used so and so report, uh, you have used this line from so and so report. Okay. And then there is a third point which says that if you are using the charts, readings from a, government organization or an organization that is well known, okay, then you don't have to mention. Then there's no requirement that you have to mention. Suppose you take up uh, then there's no requirement that you have to mention that you have taken up this chart or this reading from such and such place. Now then there is misconduct and competence. Misconduct is that you shouldn't be dishonest, you shouldn't commit any fraud, or commit anything that has a negative impact on your professional reputation. uh, so you should be very responsible. And the third is the last is competence, which means that you should understand, if any new task comes up, you should understand what are the requirement of these tasks, and you should develop those skills if you don't have before taking up that task. Is that clear? Then we have integrity of capital markets, the second standard. Here we have material non-public information and market manipulation. Now, what is material non-public information? We have two types of information, which is one is non-public information, and the second is public information. Now, what is non-public and what is public? Non-public is basically which isn't out in the public very openly, and public information is where each and every individual in the public knows what is going on. Now, suppose there's a con call. Like, a company has called the analyst for con call, and is talking about its future prospects. You can't claim that con call as something to be public information, because only the analysts were present in that con call, and only the analysts know what the CEO of that company or the director of that company has talked about the future prospects of the company. Common public don't know. Maybe the CEO, common public don't know. So it is not a public information, it is a non-public information. Okay, under this we have a mosaic theory as well, where you have material non-public information and material public information. Material non-public information and non-material non-public information. Now, what is the difference between material information and non-material information? Material information is something which would have a significant impact over your investing decisions. Like, if you know that before investing into a stock, if you know that the company is going into a merger or an acquisition, and that merger and acquisition would have positive returns, you would invest more into that stock. So that is material information for you. Non-material information is and information which wouldn't impact your investing decisions. So this standard talks about material non-public information, that which, like, if an information is material and it is not known by the whole public, then you must not act on that information. You must, and you must also not cause others to act on the information. Suppose you and I have a material non-public information. You know that a certain company is going into a merger and you're talking about that company with me. Okay, we are talking about it in very open, but we are not acting onto that information because we know that it is material and non-public. We aren't investing into the stock or selling that stock of the company. But while talking, a third person overhears our conversation and he or she invests into that company or acts on that information, then also you have violated that standard because you have caused others to act on the information. The second here is market manipulation. This means that you shouldn't manipulate these stock prices uh, intentionally. Like how you can do is how you can do this is you can artificially create volume. Suppose I have 1,000 shares of a particular stock. So, and I want to sell those stock in the future. What would want is I would want the price to go up. So what can do at present is I can create a demand, false demand for that stock. I can buy a huge amount of stock for that company. Suppose I had bought, let's say 10,000 amount of 10,000 shares of that stock. Now the this will send a signal to the market that this stock is, in huge demand, and the demand will huge demand and the supply would be less, so the prices will shoot up for that stock. So after a point of time, I will share the prices will shoot up. Now my motive is clear, my motive is achieved. I wanted the price to raise up so that I can sell my stocks. So when the price raised up, sold my stocks. So what I did was I manipulated the market in order to attain my own personal benefits. So you cannot manipulate the market in order to distort the prices, or artificially inflate the trading volume, like artificially creating that you know artificially creating that opinion that the stock is in less demand or is in less supply. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I've given an overview. It will be very great if you watch the video and go through these readings.
Okay.
Wait a second. So we'll be starting with standard 3 today. So the first standard was professionalism. The second standard was integrity of capital markets. Standard 3 is duties to clients. Now, this standard is focused on how, as a CFA charter holder, what are your duties to your clients? Now, who are your clients? As a charter holder, who are your clients? Can anyone of you tell me? Like, who can your
Um,
clients be?
Businesses.
Businesses, investors. If you are a fund manager, so you are managing people's fund, so your client would be the people who are coming, to with their money and giving you the money to invest, so they are your clients. Okay, we have clients, then we have employer. Employer is someone who has hired you. Okay, so these are the two there, because there'll be a standard which would cater to what are the duties to your employer. This standard is catering to what is your duty to the clients. The first is, under the substandard, is loyalty, prudence, and care. First we'll be reading this, Cynthia, just for you. Under each standard, you would have, something written in this blue. Make sure you memorize this, because this will help you while solving questions. Members and candidates have a duty of loyalty to their clients. You should be very loyal to your clients. You should tell your clients upfront, like, you shouldn't be dishonest about your investments. You shouldn't make false commitments. They must act with reasonable care and exercise prudent judgment. What do you mean by reasonable care and exercise prudent judgment? You should be very careful about what you're investing. Suppose you know that a certain stock is not going to do good in the future, but you were very careless, and by mistake you bought some amount of stock for that client, that, or like on the screen you pressed on the buy button instead of the sell button. So you weren't very careful, you were very careless. So you should exercise very reasonable care when it comes to your clients. You should exercise prudent judgment. What do you mean by prudent judgment? What is the meaning of prudent judgment?
Apt judgment.
Apt judgment. The judgment which you make should be very appropriate. It should consider all the factors before making the judgment, like all the various factors which can come, all the scenarios which can be there. Suppose a stock has earned 50%, a stock will earn 20% return, a stock will earn 10% return, a stock will earn, let's say, 5% return, and then there's a probability that the stock will not earn anything, lose all the money. So you should make a very prudent judgment. You should analyze whatever the situations are, and then make that judgment. Members and candidates must act for the benefits of their clients and place their clients' interests before their employers or their own interest. See, you have a duty of loyalty to your clients. Okay, you are working for your clients. After that, you should exercise, you should be very careful while making decisions for your client, and you should be very prudent. You should uh, when there are losses and when there are benefits, you should be very careful. When there are losses, benefits are fine, but when you see there are much losses when compared to benefits, you should consider that case very carefully. Then you should place, see, one thing we know, that before our interest comes the client's interest. But in this standard, it says that even before your employer's interest, the one who has hired you, you should place your client interest. The client is the supreme. You should first place the client interest, after that you should place the employer's interest, and then your own interest. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, can you guys go through this? Okay, let's start. Client interest always comes first. Okay, we have read this. Although the standard does not impose a fiduciary duty. What is fiduciary duty? Like, by legally you aren't obliged to all the duties to your clients where one did not already exist. There are certain duties for which you are legally obliged, that legally you are bounded, that you have to follow, do this thing for your clients. But there are certain duties where legally you aren't responsible, but this standard requires that you should still act for the best interest of your clients, and you should recommend the products that are suitable according to what their objective and risk tolerances are. See, if you should understand what the requirements for each and every client is. There can be different types of clients. One client is very risk averse. That client doesn't like risk much and is okay with safe returns. The client's basic requirement is, I want 10% return with minimum risk. I want guaranteed return of 10%. So his or her requirement is different. Then maybe there's a another client, let's say client B, and which who has a fair amount of risk tolerance, that I'm ready to bear fair amount of risk. But because I want, let's say 15% return, because I know I want 15% return, so I'm ready to bear a certain amount of risk. Now then there is a client, let's say C, whose basic requirement is, I'm ready to bear as much risk as you say, like 50%, even 50% risk I'm ready to bear, but I want the maximized return I want the maximum. So these three clients, they have separate interest. Their interests are different, what they want from you is different. So you cannot give the same advice to all the three clients. You should recommend what are the suitable products according to what their objective is, according to what their risk tolerance is. You cannot just give a general recommendation to these three clients. Members and candidates, you should exercise prudence, care, skill, diligence under the circumstances that a person acting in a like capacity and familiar with such matters would use. Now, what do you mean by this sentence? You should exercise whatever skill, diligence, care, truthfulness, integrity, whatever you have. Like, suppose I am there and you are there, okay, I should act have the I should exercise my duties with this amount of skill, diligence, care, prudence, as compared to what you would have done. Suppose we have the like capacity, we both are CFA charter holders. You equally possess all the skills, abilities, and whatever is needed in order to help that client, and I also have the same skills and abilities. So what you would have done in the same situation, I should also exercise that level of skill, diligence, prudence, care. Is this clear, or is any confusion?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah. Manage pool of clients' assets in accordance with the terms of governing documents such as trust documents or investment management agreements. Now, when a client comes to you for investment, there are certain documents which are made, which are known as trust documents, investment management agreements. These agreements contain all the terms regarding your investments. Like, I'm not suppose a client is not okay with alternative investments. He or she believes that alternative investments are risky. So in the agreement, maybe it would be written that do not invest in alternative investments. Invest 50% of my amount in traditional investments. Invest 30% of my amount in such investments. So you should follow the governing documents. Whatever is written, you should manage your client portfolio according to that agreement. Manage investment decisions in the context of total portfolio. This can come as a very good question. See, it's it's a very short line, but the question can come as that how like a certain CFA charter holder, CFA person has taken a decision on the basis of portfolio A, uh, a client, and not on the basis of total portfolio, because he or she believed that this investment would do good for the portfolio A, and not for the total portfolio. So this is a violation, because when you make investment decisions, you should look at the total portfolio and not just single sub portfolios. Inform clients of any limitations in an advisory relationship. Suppose you are at an position where you are advising clients about something. You should just tell your client, like, uh, you you have such and such products. You like, a client is with you for traditional investing, and is interested to shift to hedge funds or alternative investing, and has come for you for advice. So you as a and as for your client should say that these are the limitations. Since I as a person would like, if I have these products, then I'll first recommend my products. I would highlight all the positive advantages, all the advantages that you would get if you invest in my products or you invest with us. So you should highlight your client that I have this limitation because I also own these type of products. So maybe my advice would not be so true. My advice would be affected by such and such conditions. Then you should vote proxies in an informed and responsible manner. Now, what happens is, what do you mean by vote proxies? Whenever there's when you have shares of a company, you get votes. Okay, so when that company is making decisions, the company may ask for all the shareholders to come and vote for that decision. That you can vote for the decision or against the decision. Now, proxies, what do you mean by proxy? Suppose your client has certain shares of that company and is eligible for voting. But because of a situation, the client cannot go for voting, is unable to go for voting. So, the client is allowed, maybe the client has made you the proxy to vote for him or her. So, when you vote for the client, you should be very informed and responsible. You should follow. If your client has said that, I want to do this, I want to vote for, against this decision and not for this decision. So if your client has informed you your decision, you and but my client has said me that he or she would go with against that decision, but according to my personal beliefs, I feel I would go for the decision. But I should place the client's interest above my own interest. Here I cannot go and vote for the motion. I have to go and vote against the motion, because it is my client's vote and not my vote. And if because of cost benefit considerations, it can be, you can also follow that it is not very necessary to vote all the proxies. Somewhere, if you believe that if you don't vote for the proxies, your client would be in a better position, so it is not necessary, you can skip voting. Client brokerage or soft dollars or soft commissions must be used to benefit the client. Suppose your client has given you any brokerage for the services they have performed, or soft dollars or any commissions they have given you. These must be used in order to benefit that client only. You cannot use these brokerages, commissions in order to benefit your other businesses. Like, you have taken money from that client and then invested that money in another business, or use that money for any other purpose. The client may be the investing public as a whole, rather than a specific entity or a person. Client can be the whole public as a whole, like whatever people you have who are investing, rather than just an entity or a single person. Is this clear? Any doubt?
Ma'am, could you repeat the advisory relationship point again?
Advisory relationship. See, suppose you are an advisor to your client, and your client is currently into traditional investing and is looking for places, firms where he or she can start with hedge funds or alternative investments, and you already have those uh, sectors in your firm working. So your client has come to you for advice. You are at an advisory position, you're giving advice to your client. Then you already have that limitation. So if you, in your company, in your firm, you already have those products available, then there would obviously be some prejudice when you give any advice to someone. You would want that person to buy your product. Okay. Is this clear till now? Like why there would be a contradiction?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there will be a contradiction because you already own the products, so you should inform your clients that this is the limitation which I'm facing. So after that, your client can maybe take his or her own decision whether they still want to go with your advice or not. But you should inform your clients about all the limitations you have.
Okay.
This also includes, suppose you are at an advisory position and your client has come up for you and asked an advice for, let's say, suppose a company that you haven't really researched about, and you have no idea. Your client wants to invest in a different industry. We have different industry, right? We have an industry which is focused on software. Under softwares we have many companies. Then we have an industry like, let's say, uh, railways. Under railways there are many stocks. So suppose your client has asked for that, he or she wants to expand their investments into a different industry, and you have no knowledge about that industry, how that industry works, what are the main things you should check about when while investing into any stock in that industry. So again, you have that limitation that you don't possess the knowledge required to make an informed decision, a prudent decision. So you should tell your client that this is my limitation. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Now these are the points which were must. You should must follow these things. Now these are recommendations that you may or may not follow. Like, you encourage firms to address these topics, submit to clients at least quarterly. These are what the firms should follow. Firms and the clients should follow. That is, follow whatever the rules and the laws are. Establish investment objectives of clients before you get into investing amount for your client or maintaining the portfolio of your client. You should first establish what is the objective of the client. What does the client want from their investments? Consider the suitability of a portfolio relative to the client's needs and circumstances. If you are investing into any portfolio, first you should understand what is the need and circumstances of a client. What does the client want its return to look like, and risk profile to look like. Diversify. You shouldn't invest all the clients money into one single stock. You should diversify until and unless it is mentioned in the investment agreement that I want 60% of my money into such and such stock, 30% into such and such stock. Then you shouldn't go for diversification. You should first follow what is written in the mandate. But if it's not there, you should aim for diversification, because by diversification you can reduce the risk of the client. Deal fairly with all clients in regard to investment actions. You should be very fair to all the clients. You shouldn't give a partial treatment to clients. Suppose a client has, now there can be levels. A client has maintained a portfolio of 1 crore with you, and there's another client who's maintaining a portfolio of, let's say, 50 lakhs with you, and then there's a client who is maintaining a portfolio of 1 lakh with you. You can't treat them unfair because of the amounts they are investing. You let's say uh, a new stock comes up or an IPO comes up, you can't do this key. You would give more amount of stocks, the number of shares to the client who has invested 1 crore with you. Then you would go with 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs, then you would go with 1 lakh. You would have to allocate them with whatever standard you had prescribed before everything. Now obviously there'll be difference when a client has invested 1 crore with you. In your agreement there can be, you will be helping with the, like, you have given all the clients one recommendations that we believe that certain company would do good in the future. We are trying to invest, or you guys should invest in that company. You have told this to A, B, C, all the three clients. Now because the client is paying you, has 1 crore of portfolio with you, in his or her agreement it may be written, because I'm investing such amount with you, along with, a general recommendation, I may be at times would want a detailed recommendation. Now that is fine. First you give the what a general advice to everything. After that, if you're giving a detailed explanation to another client, that is fine. You can't be unfair that you give the general information to the client A first, who had 1 crore with you, and after he or she has done investing, taken the amount of shares they would have want to, then you move on to B and then to C. You can't follow this. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Then you disclose all the conflicts you have, which means that if you already own the products, you would have that prejudice that you would want to sell your products. So first tell them what are the conflicts. Disclose the compensation arrangements. Suppose you have, like, let's say the issuer based report we were talking about. If a company has paid you for making that report, disclose them that you were paid for that. Vote proxies in the best interest. Maintain confidentiality. uh, Now maintaining confidentiality means you shouldn't tell what client A is investing, or what is, the financial status of client A to client B. But at times the law may require you, suppose client A has done any, financial crime, and the law has come up to you, or the CFA PCP program has come up to you, in order for you to, give statements against that client, or present, whether that client was really had committed this crime or not. When it is required by the law or by the PCP, then you are allowed to tell them about what the status of that client be. But you can't tell the status of client A to client B, that he or she is investing this much in this amount, or he or she is facing this amount of losses, or is in a financial distress. Then seek the best execution. Standard 3A, fine.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have standard 3B, which is fair dealing. Members and the candidates must deal fairly and objectively with all clients when providing investment analysis, making investment recommendations, taking investment actions, or engaging in other professional activities. You should deal fairly and objectively with all the clients. You shouldn't, uh, treat any client unfair. Now, do not discriminate against any clients when disseminating recommendations or taking investment actions. This is what I meant while I was talking about the ABC client and the 1 crore portfolio, 50 lakh portfolio, and the 1 lakh portfolio. You cannot differentiate or discriminate these clients when you are making any recommendations, or telling these three clients that your recommendation is this, or when you're taking any investment action. Suppose you're investing in the stock of a company, at that time you cannot discriminate against the three clients, that first I'll go with the client C, then client B, then client A. The client who is paying me more money, first I'll do investment for that client. Now, fairly here doesn't mean equally. It doesn't mean that you have to treat all the clients equally. Someone who has invested an amount of 1 crore with you would obviously given more, time when compared to someone who has given um someone who has invested 1 lakh with you. In the normal course of business, there'll be differences in time. Emails, faxes, and other communications are received by different clients. Different service levels are acceptable, but they must not negatively affect or disadvantage any clients. Disclose the different service level to all clients and prospects, and make premium levels of service available to all those willing to pay for them. Now, someone who has invested 1 crore with you, may have different service level. Like, after you are done giving the general recommendation, I want such and such, in detailed explanation from you. What are the future prospects of the company, what the company is planning in the future. I want everything about that company after you're done making the general recommendation. Now, this type of service level is different, but this type of service level should not have any negative impact on your other clients. Because you're helping this company more, it shouldn't negatively impact your other clients. Now, disclose whatever different service levels you have. Like, when even when you book flights, you would be shown different types of service levels available. Like, there'll be a basic flight fare, then you can maybe go for a flight which allows you to cancel the flight, maybe let's say 1 day before the flight departure. Then there'll be a flight option with free meals. So all these flights will be, costing differently according to the service they have been providing to you. Now, when I am booking, the site will show me all the options, all the service levels which are available, and will give me the option to choose. So you must also give that option to your clients. You should tell them what are the different service levels acceptable, service levels which are available, and then allow the client to choose what type of service level they want, and then make that type of arrangement for that client. Is it clear? Any doubt till now?
No.
Cynthia, is it clear with you?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Now, give all clients a fair opportunity to act on every recommendations. Clients who are unaware of a change in the recommendation for the security should be advised of the change before an order for the security is accepted. Let's say, suppose, uh, give all clients a fair opportunity to act on every recommendation. What happens is, suppose uh, you have uh, you have shared all the information with the client just 2 minutes back, and within 2 minutes you have taken another decision, and for another client C, you invested a whole amount. Like, for another client C, you invested a greater proportion into that stock. You didn't give all the clients the time which would be required to act on the recommendation. Within 2 minutes you gave the information, and within 2 minutes you acted in the benefit of client C, which is wrong. Or within 2 minutes you acted in the benefit of your company. Like, before 2 minutes you gave the recommendation to your clients that we think this stock is going to do good in the future, and after 2 minutes what you did was, you invested your company's money into that stock. You didn't place your clients first. First, you should give the clients the opportunity to act on your recommendation. Now, the second point is, suppose a client calls you up and tells you, suppose you have done any conclusion that a certain stock is not going to do good in the future, is going to generate negative returns. You guys have done that analysis, and a certain client has just called you and has told you to buy, let's say, 10,000 shares of that stock. Okay. Now, you you cannot, you have to say that client that we have done that analysis and this stock is not good. Clients who are unaware of the change, he or she was unaware of the change, because that change isn't yet in the, open, in the surroundings till now. But if a client has called you up and told you that he or she wants to buy 10,000 shares, you can't just say ki, okay, I'll buy the shares of the stock, just because that information isn't out in the open. You have to say the client that we have done the analysis, and our conclusion is this, and soon this information will be given to all the clients. But since you wanted us to buy this stock, so we want to inform you that according to our analysis, this stock is going to do not going to do good in the future. Treat clients fairly in light of their investments, objectives, and circumstances. Treat both individual and institutional clients in a fair and impartial way. Members and clients should not take of the advantage of their position in the industry to disadvantage clients. You should treat clients very fairly when it comes to what their objective is, circumstances is. And you should there can be individual clients and there can be institutional clients. What do I mean by this? There can be clients, a single person, an individual is coming to invest his or her amount with me, with my firm. And there can be an institutional client. Suppose any institution, a company wants to manage their funds with me. So there can be two types of clients. An individual would obviously not have that much amount of money which an institution can afford. So I must not differentiate or discriminate between an individual client and an institutional client. And I shouldn't take the advantage that I am at a position where I can take the shares of an unsubscribed pool. When any IPO comes, I can first allocate the shares to me. So I shouldn't take that advantage. I should first allocate the shares to the clients, and then the shares should come to me. Is this clear? Any doubt till now? 3B.
Mm,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Go through recommendations. So recommendations. What are the recommendations? For members, you should encourage your firms to establish compliance procedures requiring proper dissemination of investment recommendations and fair treatment. Maintain a list of client and holdings and to use to ensure that all holders are treated fairly. Now, you should what the recommendations for members is, when you are any firm, you should encourage your firm in order to establish the proper rules, regulations, what should be the process when any recommendation has to be made. So that all the clients and the customers are treated fairly. And then you should have a list of all the clients and what are their holdings, in order to treat everyone fairly. And recommendations for members is, limit the number of people who are aware that a change in the recommendation will be made. Now, when about a change too many people are informed about, then there are highly many chances that a person would take advantage of that recommendation and would act on that recommendation even before it reaches to the clients. So you limit the number of people who know about the change, the people, who are compulsory. Like if something is at the board level, if any recommendation is at the board level, the board of directors think they have made any decision, so that decision should stay till the board level and should be communicated to the client from there itself, without coming to the lower level of hierarchy. Shorten the time frame between decision and dissemination. Whenever you make any conclusions or recommendations or decisions, and the time you take to in order to distribute that information or spread that information to the clients, the reduce the time frame between that, so that in between no individual takes advantage of that information. Publish personal guidelines for pre-dissemination. Have in place guidelines prohibiting personnel who have prior knowledge of a recommendation from discussing it or taking action on the pending recommendation. Whenever any this talks about what should be the guidelines for an individual who have the knowledge of the recommendation. Suppose I am analyzing any stock, now I would have that recommendation which has to be given to the client. If I had making a if I had concluded that the stock is good or the stock is not good, I would already know the recommendation. So the guidelines should be set up that if any personal or individual has that information, what are the guidelines that personal or individual should follow. Disseminate new or changed recommendations simultaneously to all clients who have expressed an interest, or for whom an investment is suitable. You should whenever any new or changed recommendation is there, like the case where I talked about, suppose a client has called you up and told you that I want to buy certain stocks for this company, and you have concluded before that I don't think that the stock is good in the future. So you tell that client that we don't think that the stock is going to good in the future, going to do good in the future. Along with this, you also inform all your other clients, uh, over mail, over call, whatever the form of communication is established. Develop written trade allocation procedures. Ensure fairness to clients, timely and efficient order execution, and accuracy of client positions. Should be fair to clients, and whenever a client is asked you to buy any share or sell any shares at certain times, let's say the client has asked me to buy any shares, uh, when the market opens tomorrow, just buy the share, just at the opening of the market. Don't even wait for 10 minutes to pass. The market opens and you buy those shares. So I should maintain that timeline. Disclose trade allocation procedures. What are the procedures you follow whenever any trade comes up, when you are buying any stock for the company you think would do good in the future, and you have, let's say, three clients. So disclose all to the three clients what will be the proportion they'll be allocated, and what is the procedure for that, how you decide that proportion. Establish systematic account review. Ensure that no client is given preferred treatment and that investment actions are consistent with the account's objectives. Disclose available levels of services. Tell all the clients what is the available levels of services. Is this clear? Any doubt in standard 3B? Cynthia, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now standard 3C is suitability. Can you guys go through this first? Let's start. When members and candidates they are in an advisory relationship with the client, they must make a reasonable inquiry into clients or prospective clients' investment experience, risk and return objectives, and financial constraints prior to making any investment recommendation or taking investment action, and must reassess and update this information regularly. Now, what this first part tells us, that when you are in an advisory relationship, you have to advise a client something, or you are at a position where the client has to give you a certain amount of money, and you will be investing that money into portfolios. So when you are at that position, you must first like, suppose a client comes up, a person comes to a firm, and before starting a new business with that client, first I should understand what his or her risk objective is, like what is the amount of risk they are ready to bear, what their return objective is, whether they want to maximize their returns, or whether they are okay with whether they want constant returns, and what are my financial constraint is. Suppose I know, suppose a person comes up and tells me that I want to make certain investment, but I have taken a loan of, let's say, 1 crore, and on that 1 crore I have to keep paying, like the loan installments, the repayments I have to do, and each repayment is, after monthly, let's say yearly repayments are there, and yearly I have to pay certain amount. So this is my financial constraint, that whatever amount you are making, make sure that in my portfolio I have at least this much amount yearly, so that I can repay my loan. Or let's say I'm starting let's say two parents are there, and a child has just their child has just gone into the school, and they started investing for that child, and they want that the child gets good education and gets into a good college, and they really want to afford that college, so they start investing now. So what their financial constraint is, that after 15 years I want this much amount of money, so that my child can go into a good college without any constraint, without any facing any difficulty. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they must reassess and update this information regularly. It isn't the case that you have taken an information, you have formed the mandate with the client 5 years back, and till 5 years, let's say before 5 years, a client is now aged 26, 27. Before 5 years the client was 22. Okay, at 22, you don't have that much future prospects in your mind, compared to when you compared to the prospects you have at 26, 27. At 26, 27, you are more mature, you think more about the future, you want to save more for the future, when compared to the age of 22. So at when you're at the age of 22, and when you're at the age of 26 or 27, your investment experience, what do you want your returns to look like, your risk profile to look like, what are your financial constraints, they change. So according, like, along with taking that information once, you should also keep updating this information. Determine that investment is suitable to the client's financial position and consistent with the client's written objectives, mandates, and constraints before making an investment recommendation or taking any investment action. Now you have made the mandate where you have written the client's risk, return, everything, what the client's objective is. Now, whenever you make what is the client's financial situation, what are the constraints, whenever you make any investment recommendation or you make an investment action, you should first analyze whether it is suitable to the client's requirement or not. Now the standards name is itself suitability. So first you need to analyze what are the conditions the client has, and then after analyzing the condition, you should judge whether the given portfolio, whether the given action is suitable for the client or not, and you should judge the suitability of the investments in the context of the client's total portfolio, and not just one part of the portfolio. The members and the candidates are responsible for managing a portfolio to a specific mandate, strategy, or style. They must make only investment recommendations or take only investment actions that are consistent with stated objectives and constraints of the portfolio. One second. Suppose a client has told you that I want to follow certain strategy, a style, or a mandate. They have fixed everything. Now whenever you are making any investment recommendations or you're taking any action, so your actions, your recommendations should be consistent with the objective and the constraints of the portfolio. It shouldn't be like your client has stated a certain style, a certain strategy, a hedge strategy, anything, a style, and then you go about your, maybe your client has said that I want to invest in traditional investments, alternative investments, a certain amount I want to invest in this amount of stock. You divide 30% and 10% in the very riskier stocks, and this should be my style. But you change the style to completely different. 10% you invested in the safe investments and 30% you invested in the risky stocks. This change the client's risk profile totally. The client wanted 10% to be risky stocks, you invested 30% in the risky stocks. So you can't do this. The suitability is deciding what first, taking before starting any business with the client. First you get to know the client, what are the client's financial constraints, risk, return, position of the client. Then you give the recommendation or the take any action according to the according to his or her objectives, and you should take decisions basic basis the whole client's total portfolio. In advisory relationship, members and the candidates must gather client information at the beginning of the relationship. When the relationship is starting with the client, then only you should take the information. Not that after that, okay, one meeting we have done. After one meeting, the client has given you, let's say, certain amount of money, and you had invested that amount in, some portfolio. After that one week, the client, you again had a talk with the client, and then you ask the client what your return perspectives are, what your risk profile should be. No, whenever you make the first investment, or whenever you are meeting with the client and everything is set up, the deal is locked in, the first thing should be forming investment policy statement, or the mandate or the agreement in the form of an investment policy statement. Consider what the client's needs, circumstances are, and what are their risks, and consider whether or not the use of leverage is suitable for the client. Ask the client whether you want to take debt and use it for investing or not. If a member is responsible for managing a fund to an index or other stated mandate, he must select only investments that are considered consistent with the stated mandate. Unsolicited trade request. This is very important under this standard, unsolicited trade request. Now what happens is, a client has stated some objectives to you, that they want this and this. But the client comes to you and tells you that I want to invest into this stock, but according to his or her mandate which they had formed with you, the stock doesn't fit into their portfolio, or maybe the proportion of the stock which they are telling to buy, let's say, the according to their portfolio they can only buy an amount of 20% of the whole portfolio of that stock. But what they are telling is, 50% of my whole portfolio I want to invest in that stock. So this request isn't fitting into that portfolio, isn't fitting into that mandate. Now what should the course of action be? As as someone as someone who is managing people's money, your client money, and your client himself or herself has come to you and told you, ki I want to do this, what should your course of action would be? Like, would you just directly invest that money just because your client had said? okay, it's his money, her money, why would I care? I will just invest whatever he or she is saying, I would just do that. No, you are responsible for the client's money. You have more financial knowledge than your client. Suppose your client has come up and told you that he or she wants to do this, but he doesn't have that much capability to analyze what the conclusions of those actions can be. Okay, you possess more skills to analyze what the conclusion can be. So the first course of action should be, first you tell the client. Okay, let's go step by step. An investment manager may receive a client request to purchase a security that a manager knows is unsuitable, doesn't fit to your portfolio, given the client's investment policy statement. The trade may or may not have a material effect on the risk characteristics of the client's total portfolio, and the requirement are different for each case. In either case, however, the manager should not make the trade until he has discussed with the clients the reasons that the trade is unsuitable for the client's account. Now, maybe that action won't have any much material impact on the client's portfolio. Let's say, even if you go with that forward with that action, it won't have any significant impact on his or her portfolio. But that doesn't mean that you will just go ahead with that information and invest the amount. No, you would first discuss with your client that why you believe that this trade is not suitable for your account because of your IPS or your mandate. Excuse me. If the manager determines the effect on the risk return portfolio of the clients is minimal, the manager, after discussing with the client how the trade does not fit the IPS goals and constraints, may follow his firm's policy with regard to unsuitable trades. Regardless of firm policy, the client must acknowledge the decision and an understanding of why the trade is unsuitable. Now, when the trade is when the effect on the portfolio is very minimal, the manager has analyzed that there won't be much significant impact on risk on the portfolio and on the return on the portfolio. Now, after having a good discussion with the client that why this trade doesn't fit your goals, your constraints, your objectives, uh, the manager can follow whatever his or her firm's policy is regarding to the unsuitable trades. Every firm has some policies, so manager can follow whatever policy of the firm is regarding the unsuitable trades and can just follow. The policy can be either to accept the unsuitable trades if the client is saying so, if it is having minimal impact on the client's total portfolio after having a good discussion with the client. Or the policy can be reject the client's request, explain the client why this policy is not suitable, and just reject the request. So manager can follow any whatever policy is there, and regardless of whatever policy is there, the client should accept the fact that should understand the fact and accept the fact that the trade is unsuitable for his or her portfolio. Now, what happens if the trade has material impact? If the trade has material impact, and if, let's say, the return goes to negative because of the trade, the portfolio generates negative returns. There can be a situation that the client will come up to you that you didn't warn me, you didn't tell me first. Now my portfolio has generated negative returns. Now it is up to you. So, what is the procedure to be followed if a client comes up to you for unsolicited trade request, and that trade request would have material impact on your portfolio? The first option should be update your IPS so the client accepts a change risk profile that would permit to the trade. First option should be, after having the good discussion with the client, you update the IPS, you update your investment policy statement that the client has increased their risk bearing to certain amount. So after the IPS is updated, the trade would be allowed, because with the according to the updated IPS, the trade is allowed. Now, if the client says that I do not want to update my IPS, or I will not accept the changed IPS, what the manager can do? The manager may allow the trade to be made in a separate client directed account. Their manager, the manager can ask the client, okay, if you're so bent on making that trade, give me a separate directed account, give me a separate account of yours where I would make that trade. I would not touch this account which my company is managing. In absence of other options, like if the client says that I do not want my IPS to be updated and I do not want this trade to go into another separate account, the manager has to reconsider whether they want to keep the relationship with the client or not, or whether they want to end all whatever the arrangements were with the client. Is this clear? To sum
Yeah.
Yeah, to summarize, if it is if the the trade has very minimal impact, then you first understand, make the client understand why it is not suitable, and the client must acknowledge this fact that it is not suitable. Then the manager can follow whatever the firm's policy is. And if it is material impact, then first update the IPS. And if the client doesn't want an updated IPS, then ask the client to give a separate account for the trade to be made. And if the client doesn't agree to both the options, then reconsider your relationship with the client. Recommendations for the members, please go through it. Is this clear? Any doubt and recommendations? Cynthia and Mehak.
No.
Cynthia?
No confusion.
No confusion. Okay. Let's move forward to performance presentation. When communicating investment performance information, members and candidates must make reasonable efforts to ensure that it is fair, accurate, and complete. Whenever you are making, any presentation about your the performance of your funds, whatever the funds you are managing, you must make all the efforts to ensure that whatever information you are presenting is fair, it is accurate, and it is complete. What do I mean by fair, what do I mean by accurate, and what do I mean by complete? By fair, I mean, let's first come to accurate. By accurate, I mean it should be very true. It should be very, very true. If I'm And by complete, I mean that I shouldn't omit any fact. Like I gave the example that suppose I'm into the industry for 10 years, and for 10 years I have been into traditional investing, but it has only been 2 years since I started alternative investments. Now I make marketing materials, and there I claim that since 10 years I have been doing traditional investing. I have been into traditional investing and alternative investing. I completely skip the fact that I haven't been into alternative investment industry for 10 years. I have only been doing it for 2 years. So it is incomplete. It is not complete information. Then the information should be fair, it should be accurate and complete. Members must not misstate information, performance, or mislead clients or prospects about the investment performance or their firm's investment performance. You shouldn't misstate your performances. That suppose you uh, suppose you were managing 5 portfolios. in the last 5 years, and in the last 5 years, two of the portfolios, st- uh, two of the portfolios were stopped in between. Okay, but stopped in between because they generated very negative returns. Now, while calculating the returns of the past 5 years, you excluded those two portfolios which generated very negative returns, and you included only the three portfolios with the positive returns, and you misstated that information, that in the past 5 years all of my portfolios performed an average return of this. You miss the portfolios with the negative returns so that your average doesn't decrease or go into negatives, and your average was highly positive. So you stated that my all of the portfolios which I had managed for the 5 years had generated an average return of this, whereby where you had already skipped two portfolios with the negative returns. So it was a misinformation which you presented to your client. You must not state or imply the ability to achieve a rate of return similar to that achieved in the past. Uh, you shouldn't state that in the past I have, achieved a 10% return in this. So I possess the ability to generate the same kind of returns in the future as well, because it is market and past doesn't replicate, future will not replicate past. So you cannot simply state that since in the past I stated 15% return, so in future I'm also sure that I'll be able to attain 15% return. You are allowed to say that in the past I generated 15% return. You can market yourself like that, but you can't make the next statement that because in the past I generated 15% return, so in the future I'll also generate 15% return. For brief presentations, members must make detailed information available on request and indicate that the presentation has offered only limited information. Just like in the beginning, I gave an overview of a standard 1 and 2. Okay, so I mentioned that this is just an overview because I know that there are many sentences which I skipped, which are important. But if I wouldn't have told you, then maybe you wouldn't have gone to those readings in detail and you would have missed those information. So if with any client you are sitting and the client is, less time, or you have less time with you, or the situation isn't allowing you to give a detailed presentation, you just tell the client that this is a very brief presentation. I can make the detailed information, I can give you detailed information available on your request if you tell me so. And you must inform the client that this is only limited information, there is more information which has to be added. Now, what are the recommendations for members? You should encourage your firms to adhere to GIPS, Global Investment Performance Standards. What are GIPS, Global Investment Performance Standards? It tells you how you should present your information. What should your standard be? So encourage your firms to adhere to follow GIPS, Global Investment Performance Standards. Consider the sophistication of the audience to whom a performance presentation is addressed. Whenever you are stating any performance presentation, you should understand what is the skills of the audience. Suppose I'm sitting in a group of people who doesn't have much knowledge about finance, okay, who maybe have a background of, let's say, engineering or psychology or things like that, and doesn't really know much financial terms, and I'm talking to them in statements like the standard deviation of these returns is this. I assume that the expected shortfall of these returns should be this. So this shouldn't be my language while I'm talking to the audience who doesn't understand these technical terms. I should have a very plain language that if you invest in this portfolio, that there are high chances that your return can move up or down by this percent, or your return can be less than this amount by this percent. To simplify whatever you want to communicate as much as you can, according to what the knowledge or the sophistication of the audience is. Present the performance of weighted composite of similar portfolios rather than the performance of a single account. Whenever there are similar portfolios, you present that a return in the form of weighted return and not the performance of a single account. Like, you don't just mention that the return of A is this person, return of B is this person, return of C is this person. You form a weighted return portfolio, and then you present that the return of these three portfolios, they were very similar, so the weighted return is this. Include terminated accounts as part of historical performance and clearly state when they were terminated. Like I said, if the account was terminated in the past, include them as a part of your historical performance and clearly state when they were terminated. Like, if I am presenting the performance for the past 5 years, and two accounts were terminated in the year, let's say 2022, so I have to state that these two accounts were eliminated in the year 2022. Why? Because if when I say year 2022, like 2020 and 2021 was COVID, so maybe the investor is investing can maybe make conclusions that my firm didn't generated very good returns, or good returns, or maintain the returns during the COVID time. So you even have to tell when they were terminated. Include all appropriate disclosures to fully explain results. Example, model results, gross or net of fees, etc. You should include whatever disclosures you want: gross fees, net of fees. Gross fees is very important because sometimes gross returns, like there's a difference between gross returns and net returns. You should include both in your disclosure, because what happens is sometimes the gross return of one portfolio may be greater than the second portfolio, but the net return of one portfolio may be less than the other portfolio. Why? Because there, after gross portfolio, there are many expenses, like the commission, brokerage, everything which is deducted from the gross return. After that, the net return comes. So you even have to take into account what are these commissions, returns, etc. So you disclose what is the gross return, you disclose what is the net return. Maintain data and records used to calculate the performance being presented. Whatever data you are using in order to calculate your performance, whatever records you have, you maintain those information with you. You'll come across a line later that what till what amount of time will I maintain these information, like 5 years of information, 10 years of information. So according to the CFA standard, you have to maintain 7 years of information. Is this clear? Standard 3D? Any doubt?
Yeah, I understood.
Cynthia, any doubt?
No.
Okay. Preservation of confidentiality. Now, whether your client is current client, or your former client, or your prospective clients. Like, current client is with which you have an ongoing business. Former client is you had an ongoing business, but the client has terminated their portfolios for whatever reason. Now, prospective client is client which you are in talks with, they you are having conversations regarding future prospects, and they maybe have an interest to form relationships with your firm. Now, you should maintain their confidentiality, unless you shouldn't disclose any information about the financial positions, what securities they're investing it, what are they up to, unless what are the conditions. There are three conditions where you have to disclose, or you may be required to disclose about your client. The first is illegal activities on the part of the client. When it is required by law, this disclosure is required by law about the client, or whether or when a client is indulged in any illegal activity, then you should actually disclose that information, that okay, my client is indulged in this illegal activities, and this information might help you in analyzing this more. The client or prospective client permits disclosure of the information, or your client or your prospective clients allows you to disclose that information. If illegal activities by client are involved, member may have an obligation to report the activities to authorities. Whenever there are an illegal activities, you maybe can have an obligation, necessary, that it is a necessity that you have to report the activities to the authorities. Confidentiality standard extends to the former clients as well. The requirements of the standards are not intended to prevent members. Now, uh, the this requirement doesn't state that, whenever there is a PCP, that is for professional conduct program. What do you mean? What do I mean by professional conduct program? Mehak, if you can elaborate on that.
Could you repeat?
Could you elaborate on what do I mean by professional conduct program? See, what is PCP? Professional conduct program is when I believe that you are doing something wrong, or you're not following any laws, ethics, rules, regulation according to what CFA body prescribes. So I can go up to the CFA institute and tells you that, and tell them that such and such person is do is exercising this violation, and I believe you should look into it. Now, if that person is my client, and the PCP, the CFA institute comes up to me and tells me to give more information on what are the activities of that client, this standard doesn't mean, or doesn't prevent you to cooperate with the CFA institute in regards to the investigation of PCP. So this standard doesn't mean that if your client is indulged in illegal activities, you cannot help the authorities. If your client is undergoing a PCP investigation, you should cooperate with CFA Institute and give the information required. If information is required by the law, then you should disclose the information. And if your client or your prospective client has given you the permission to disclose that information, then you should disclose the information. Is everything cleared? Any doubt? Okay, so standard three was loyalty, prudence, and care. You should be loyal, prudent, uh, exercise, careful while making any decisions for the client. Standard 3B was fair dealing. You should deal with all the clients fairly. Standard 3C was suitability. You should see what the suitability of the client is, and then make any decisions regarding investing into the client's portfolio. Standard 3D is performance presentation. It talks about how you should present your performance, your returns to the clients. Standard 3 is you should maintain the confidentiality of the client. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the questions. Cynthia, any doubt?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the questions. Do you guys have the Schweizer with you?
Yeah.
Cynthia, you have?
Yes.
Okay, just go to the questions and solve. Have 5 questions here. Are you guys done? Are you guys done?
No, just a second. Yeah,
Okay. What should be the first answer be? Cobb Inc. has hired Jude Caston, CFA, to manage its pension fund. Jude will be managing the pension fund. So, who are Jude's client? The client to which Caston owes a duty of loyalty are who are his clients?
see,
See, the beneficiaries of the pension fund. Which of the following actions is most likely a violation of the standard on fair dealing? What was fair dealing? That you should treat all clients fairly and not place your own benefit before the clients. A portfolio manager allocates IPO shares to all clients, including her brother's fee-based retirement account. An investment firm routinely begins trading for its account immediately after announcing recommendation changes to clients. After releasing a general recommendation to all clients, an analyst calls the firm's largest institutional clients to discuss the recommendation in more detail. Now, what should be the answer, Cynthia?
B.
Huh?
B.
B. Okay. Mehek?
I did not understand this question.
Okay.
I mean, the answers I'm confused about.
See, the first option, including her brother's fee-based retirement account. Fee-based is basically, this means that the brother is a client of the firm. So, if the manager allocates IPO shares to all the client accounts, including her brother's fee-based retirement account, then it's fine because her brother is also paying fee to the firm. So this is not wrong because her brother is also a client. So basically, the manager is allocating all the IPO shares to the clients accounts along with the brother's account, who is also the client. So this is what the standard talks about, that you should deal fairly with all the clients. Is point A clear, Mehak?
Yes.
Now point B, the firm what the firm does is, first the firm announces the recommendations and immediately the firm begins trading for its own account. There was a point, if you remember, that the firm must give sufficient time to the clients in order to act on that information. The firm didn't give sufficient time to the clients to act on that information. The firm announced the recommendation and immediately began trading. So this is a violation. Is this clear?
Yes, okay.
After releasing a general recommendation to all the clients, you first made the general recommendation to all the clients, and then you called the largest institutional client and you discussed the recommendation in more detail, because I talked about that there can be different level of services. So it is allowed. So this is not a violation. So option B is the answer.
Okay.
Okay, now question 3.
A.
A. C. Meg, is this clear for you too? Or you want an explanation? Cynthia, is it clear for
No,
you? Sorry.
I got it.
Cynthia, you want an explanation or is it clear?
Yeah, can you explain it?
Okay. The standard regarding suitability most likely requires, what is suitability? That you must analyze what your client's requirements are, what his or her perspectives are. Then after that, you must make the decision. An advisor must analyze what the investment's suitability for the client prior to recommending or acting on the information investment. It is requiring this. The main sentence was this only, that you first must analyze what the investor suitability is, investment suitability for the client is, and then you should recommend or act on that investment. Now why option B is not correct? You must decline to carry out an unsolicited transaction that she believes is unsuitable for the client. There were two three process. First was, if it is immaterial, then you can go forward with whatever the firm's policies procedures are. If And the second was, if it is material, then first change the IPS, update the IPS, go to a separate client directed account. After that you can decline. After that you should stop having any uh, you want to continue the relationship with the client or not. That was the option. There wasn't any option to decline. Hence, option B is incorrect. When managing a fund to an index, a manager is evaluating potential investments must consider their suitability for the fund's shareholders. Fund to an index. See, manager is managing fund to an index. So, manager who is evaluating potential investments must consider their suitability for the fund's shareholders. Why option C is incorrect? When managing a fund to an investment stated index or stated mandate, the manager is responsible for ensuring that the potential investments are considered with the consistent with the fund's mandate. Suitability for investments would be concern for an advisor who recommends the funds to clients, but not for the manager of the fund. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Which of the following is most likely a recommended procedure for complying with the standard on performance presentation?
C.
Sorry,
C.
C.
Yeah, C.
C. Why not A or B? C.
It was,
Hmm?
it was, first of all, it was clearly stated in the
Yeah,
paragraph.
that you have to include the terminated account, and you cannot present the performance of a representative account to show how a composite has performed. You cannot do that, for a composite. You just take a representative account, like there's A, B, C, D account are there. You just took the portfolio C and told that, from all these A, B, C, D, I have taken C as a representation of A, B, C, D, E portfolio, and this is a representative account. No, you can't do that. You have to show portfolio A, B, C, D, E. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Fifth,
I'm not sure about this one.
okay, so in fifth, there's a member, Chris Johns, level 2 CFA candidate, and there are a number of CFA charter holder colleagues. PCP has begun an investigation uh, for these persons, and Johns has some confidential client records that could be useful in clearing his name, and wishes to share this information with the PCP. What is accurate? Sharing the confidential information would with PCP would violate the standards, which is incorrect. You can share information with confidential information with PCP when required, and you can share confidential information with the the prescribed authority if your client is into illegal stuffs. So this is incorrect. The standard encourage but do not require that John support the PCP investigation into his colleagues. There is no strong, if you see this was under recommendations, that there is no strong requirement that you have to, support PCP and give all the, you know, uh, information. You may just sit silently and let PCP do its work, and not support PCP, like just be on your client's colleague side and not support PCP. The standard do require that if you have any anything on your half, like if you know anything, then come to us and tell us, but it is not a mandatory thing. So B is correct. C is Johns may share confidential information about former clients with the PCP, but not share confidential information about current clients, which is also incorrect. Because if if you're under PCP and you have information about some former clients, be it whether they are former, current, or prospective, if you have some information and if you feel that information is very helpful, then you can share the information with PCP.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Mike, are you sharing your doubts or we'll do it in the next class?
Ma'am, actually, the tests I took, it had all the standards. I mean,
Okay.
from one to like
Oh,
the all the standards, it was mixed. So that's why I got some of the questions wrong too.
no, no. I told you the way to go. Like you first uh, go somewhere, then it will lead you to all the 10 topics. Then you click on ethics, then it will lead you to reading 90 and 91. Click on 91, then there would be sub parts, like you can even do you even there are parts like you can do reading 3 ka standard threes, 3A, 3B, 3C separately,
Uh,
like
I I got the reading 1991, but I didn't get to discuss subparts. I mean,
okay.
standard.
Oh, actually, I can't access this right now. I can't, share it on the screen and, make you understand. Just share me the screenshot personally.
Okay.
Where are you going? And I'll help you with it. Cynthia,
Okay.
do you have any doubts? Anything regarding curriculum or whatever I have taught till now? How you
No,
should
I got.
proceed? Okay. Okay, so, guys, this is it for today. Next class will be probably in the next week, Saturday or Sunday. We'll inform you. Okay, and please go through the readings and solve the questions. Thank
Okay.
you.